Yeah, let's go.
My name is Sheik Mozart and I'm here to explode important media topics with kids ministry pros. Whether you got a mega budget or just minimal dough, welcome to the Kids Church Visual Show. Hello and welcome to the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. I'm Sheik Mozart. This is a show that wants to help you visually communicate the gospel to your kids. In this episode of the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart, we're going to be exploring the ways in which Kids Church Visuals can help you recruit and train your volunteers. But first, we're going to go live so you can answer the question, what makes a perfect Kids Church media team volunteer? Let's go. What makes the perfect Kids Church media volunteer?
One is someone who pays attention because that is such a big one that sometimes, sometimes they're just so removed from what's going on that they lose a little focus. Shout out to my guys. Love you. But, second one would probably just be someone that gives attention to detail, right? Like they're able to go through that order of service and like they're able to pinpoint, I need that lighting cue adjusted. I need that media cue. The volume's a little bit louder on that one than the other, right? Like they just went through it and they were super attentive to the detail.
One that pays attention. Because there's sometimes that we'll be rocking along and we may need to go back a couple slides, or we may need to jet over to like another video because like there's something happening right then that it would help the kids.
You have to at least be able to push the arrow over when I tell them to. I always have like a 10-year-old who's always like pushing it 3 times and I'm like, okay, you got to go back. Okay, let me come over there and help you, And so if you can just push the arrow over when I say it's time to push the arrow over, that would be amazing.
I found I worked with a lot of media guys, and I will say the best ones were the ones that really understood how kids perceive what's happening on stage. And the guys I worked with, like Austin and Peter and Joel, I'll just name them, are people that they were doing the hand motions when we were singing the songs. They were running the lights and making it exciting. They were bumping up the volume and bringing it back down. Like they could just tell where the kids were instead of doing what was fun or trying something new. They were really focused on what was happening in the room. And I think that's what made them really great media volunteers.
I guess I would probably say someone who's willing to learn and someone who can pay attention and like track kind of what is going. That said, I almost exclusively pull older kids into that position. So my 5th or 6th graders, that is the role that I give them kind of as their first leadership role before allowing them to do anything else, because it means that they know what's going on. They know what's coming next. They know the importance of how everything kind of fits together in the service order. And it also tells me like that they're willing to be there early. They're willing to stay a little bit late to shut things down, kind of a thing.
One that takes initiative. So they see like maybe they're looking ahead and they see like, ooh, it'd be nice to have a visual that looks like this. And even if they can't make it or they don't know how to do everything, they're just taking initiative and have ownership of it. Those are the best kind of volunteers across the board, whether they're giving out snacks, whether they're running visuals, whatever it is. They have ownership of it and they want it to be done with excellence and care in how they do it. So that's what I would say.
Someone who's willing to learn, and someone who's excited about technology. So yeah. And I think who's willing to pour into others. You want someone that's willing to let your 3rd graders, 4th graders come up and hit a few slides and not be frustrated when they hit the wrong thing. Because that's the easiest place for kids to plug in is your media team. And so you want someone who knows a little bit about technology, but's willing to learn and willing to teach others. So.
All right, and welcome back to the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. Of course, I'm Sheik Mozart, and with me here is a good friend of mine, Erac Christofis, who is a kids pastor at Christian Life Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Eric, how are you doing?
Man, I'm so good. I'm honored to be here,
Yeah.
man. It's good to see you. Can't wait.
Yeah. I'm happy you're here for a lot of reasons. First of all, obviously, we go way back. You're
Yeah.
the kids pastor at the church where I grew up, so that's a big deal to me. You were my nephew's kids pastor for a little while,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Shout out
And
Roman.
shout out Roman. And ultimately, though, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this topic in particular is because you are like a kids ministry team building guru. Now, of course,
thank
we
you.
never think that about ourselves, but let me just tell you that from my vantage point, you know what you're doing.
Well, thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah.
We're trying,
Yeah.
Living the dream over here.
Yeah, that's right. In sunny Fort Lauderdale.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's raining today, sadly.
Is it raining?
It is. I was trying to play pickleball today.
Yeah. Oh man, pickleball got canceled. What a terrible date. So before we get started, Eric, can you kind of tell me about your history and how you ended up in kids ministry, how you ended up in Fort Lauderdale? Just kind of briefly go over some of that.
Yeah, I grew up in church all my life, so anytime the doors are open, we were in the building. My dad was a bivocational minister, so he worked as a pastor at night. He was an electronic engineer during the day, and so we were there all the time. And so I always just thought that ministry was something that people volunteered to do. I never thought it would be a profession of mine, and I had a lot of friends that they volunteered a lot, but they had outside jobs and they were really invested. And I just thought that's what I was going to do. Senior year of high school, I remember I was in Greece on a missions trip, and I had a missionary to tell me, hey, God wants you to know you're going to do great and mighty things in the lives of children in America. And we were in an elevator, and I said nothing, and I just got out. I knew she was a missionary. She spoke English. She didn't speak Greek, and I just nope, that's not for me. I'm going to go work in sports media, and I wanted to play sports, but I'm 5'6" and I can't. And so I just was like, I'm going to be rich and famous. I'll volunteer, but I'm not going to do this as God's not calling me. Similar story, youth group, had a crazy lady from West Virginia, old lady, came down, prayed for all the graduating seniors, told me the exact same word. And again, I resisted, and I was like, nope, I'm going to Ohio State, I'm going to major in sports business, I'm going to do graphics or marketing. LeBron James wants to sell Happy Meal toys. I'm going to be making I'm going to be with the athletes making money. God, I'll serve on Sundays. And again, I was at a men's thing in Royal Rangers, and someone I really respect prayed over me, gave me the exact same word, and that was it. I'd been in kids ministry all my life, and it hit me at that moment. God was calling me to ministry. I got the same word 3 times. Eric, God wants you to know you're going to do great and mighty things in the lives of children in America. And that was it. I found the best kids ministry school in the country. I found Dick Gruber and just everything that he did. I applied to Valley Forge super late. I got to play soccer in school while I was at Valley Forge, got to be inspired by Dick Gruber for 4 years, got to serve at one church in their kids ministry, really build something, got to stay there all 4 years. And then right out of school, I get a job in Florida as a kids pastor. Had a pastor, Terry Howell, take a shot on me. And man, he let me grow and develop. And I was an associate kids pastor for about 6 months, and then he just let me do everything. I became the kids pastor, and then a year later, I was helping out with graphics and media and all the PR on the digital side there. And then I got to oversee outreach and special events, and just the way God shaped and used all those experiences. When I was young, I got to learn under some really incredible people. And then I met my wife at the church. We got married, and then a year later, we moved down to Fort Lauderdale, and we've been here for the past 10 years.
One of the things that I've always admired about you as a leader is your ability to build teams and to really pour into the lives of your volunteers and interns. Can you tell me about your experience with kids church tech teams or media teams?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, volunteers, they make the ministry happen. If you're young in ministry right now and you're listening to this or you're watching this, I want you to know you're not paid to do ministry. You're paid to lead ministry. That was a big mind shift change. I can remember in my first job I learned, our senior pastor would tell us all the time, I don't pay you to do the work, I pay you to lead the work. And when I got this concept of, oh my goodness, God is raising me up to be the leader that oversees volunteer teams, one of our values at the church right now is the we is greater than me. I can only do so much, but oh my goodness, if I get a team of 300 volunteers that serve with me on a regular basis in kids' church, we could change the world. I mean, I really believe that. I really believe that what we do matters. In raising up these kind of teams, especially with tech teams, what we do on a Sunday morning at all of our campuses, we want to communicate so kids listen. And so we try to use lights and crazy videos and graphics and just all these visuals. Well, it takes people to run those. It takes people to set them up. It takes people to design them. And in a lot of ways, it takes multiple areas. And that's something that I had to really put aside in my heart, that I can't be everything. You know, early on in my ministry, if you looked at an order of service of mine, Sheik, like you would see Pastor Eric, Pastor Eric, Pastor Eric, Pastor Eric. Who set up the computer during the week? Pastor Eric. Hey, the graphic was wrong. Who messed it up? Pastor Eric. You know, it was just all me, 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 me. And God really showed me that in order to do all that he's calling me to do, to make a big spiritual impact, it's going to take a lot of people working alongside of me. I immediately go back to that scripture, Matthew chapter 9, I think it's 37. Jesus says the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And the Bible, it doesn't stop there. It says, so pray to the Lord of the harvest that God would send workers into his fields. First and foremost, if you want volunteers to serve in your ministry, it starts with prayer. You got to pray. The battle is first one in the spiritual before it's ever one in the physical. And so something I do, I pray on a regular basis that God would grow our volunteer team. I say that God is not dumb. God is not going to send us 1,000 kids if we don't have trained people already ready to minister to the children that God wants to send us. The second thing, when recruiting any sort of new person, you can't be afraid to ask someone to serve. Don't be afraid to ask someone to step up to serve in ministry alongside you. There's a great book. I think it's by David Stahl and Sue Miller, and it's Making Kids Church the Best Hour of Every Kid's Week. And it goes in detail. I've got a lot of my processes from that book. But man, the number one thing that I learned is you just have to be wild and passionate and so committed to the vision of your children's ministry at your church. So it's almost like that elevator pitch. When I'm talking with maybe a dad or a mom in the lobby and I'm asking them to serve, I maybe have 30 seconds or 45 seconds to clearly express what I need and why it's important and why they fit into that. But if I'm not wild, if I'm not passionate, if I am not committed to that vision, people will be like, I don't really know. But man, if I'm like, hey, listen, we have an opportunity to reach all these children. Basically what I'm saying is before you ask for their hand, before you ask anyone to serve with you, how are you touching their heart? And for me, it is always, hey, God is going to move this Sunday. We're going to see hundreds of kids at all of our campuses. God is going to move in just such a big, big way. Will you be a part of it? When you put it out like that, I rarely get people saying no to me. When it comes to the media side, oh my goodness, like young people love to serve in media. Like I would love to say that my media team is just full of adults, but it's not. I don't know about you, Sheik, but when I was growing up, like the way I volunteered in kids' church was I ran sound and I ran lights and I got to run Pro Presenter. It's probably like PowerPoint back in the day or whatever it was, but like I got to do those things and man, I was excited to come to church. And it's the same for me now. I have my tech team is a lot of kids and a lot of teenagers, but man, they love it. They're committed. They show up every week. Do I have adults that help out? Absolutely. But I really think raising up the next generation, I think our church would be so much better if we raised up children early to serve. I think a lot of times as kids pastors, we forget that kids can serve in ministry. I've got a second grader who runs Pro Presenter, and that little boy is always paying attention. I mean, he sit up straight. His feet don't even touch the ground on the chair. But oh my goodness, when he's running the visuals, like he's committed. That when we don't miss a slide on Sunday morning. I put a young adult up there, and 30 seconds later they're on their phone, and it's we joke, but it's the reality. We got to raise up the next generation of children who can serve. And man, if we get kids serving at an early age, oh my goodness, when they're adults, they're going to change the world. I know I was a little convoluted there, but
no, that was excellent. That's real good. And I love too that idea that finding a volunteer or recruiting a volunteer isn't necessarily about just kind of filling a hole in your ministry. You're trying to create future leaders.
Yeah.
What do
Nobody
you?
wants to waste their time. You know,
Yeah.
like I think about it this way. If I'm going to ask an adult, especially, to really, hey, I need you to commit to this. It's going to be a time commitment, all these different things. I don't want to ever waste their time. I want to make sure that what I'm giving them, it matters. It's not small, it's meaningful, and they understand the impact. And when I can make them feel important and I can connect their unique spiritual gifts, their heart, their passion, their experiences in life, when I can connect that to something they're excited about and they get to see how they're shaping the kingdom of God, oh my goodness, people are excited to serve.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you look for in a volunteer that you're going to put specifically on the tech team?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I want people excited about technology. I want people who are asking the question, or people that already have those gifts. So it's two-sided. Yeah. I've got people that have no experience in technology that like, hey, I just think technology is cool and I want to help there. Or two, they already have those skills. Like I've got this kid and he's now, I think he's 19, but he served with me when he was in 6th grade. He ran lights for me. And basically we just had preset scenes and he's pressing a button every time it's a different scene in our kids' church. Now fast forward, he's 19 years old. He worked in the main sanctuary since he was a teenager to now that he's 19. He knows how to come in, hook up new lights. He knows how to make new scenes. When he came back to me and said, hey, Pastor Eric, I've learned some new things. Could I come back and improve the lights? I want to bring some stuff that we have laying around in the media. Absolutely. You can do whatever you want, Ivan. Those moments like that for me are just amazing. Those are two ways, I think.
What are some ways that you train your kids' church tech team? Do you have a specific name for that group?
You know, I don't. Absolutely. I'm not big into having multiple different areas. I like saying that we're all Surge Kids volunteers.
How do you train the tech team members then specifically?
Yes, sir. So for us, I'd like to say that we keep it kind of consistent throughout the board. We have a 5-week training process for all of our new volunteers. And so the first week is all about you fill out an application and you sit through kind of like a policy and procedure. And it basically gives you some generalities for what the ministry expects. While you're in the room, this is the seriousness of working with children. How do we protect our kids? How do we keep them safe? What's appropriate touch? All those different things that we would cover in policy and procedure, as well as getting a background check and a references. Then for the next 4 weeks, it's hands-on training. So we have an observation Sunday, that next Sunday where this person is sitting and they're observing. After that observation, it's more like, hey, you got to see what it was like. You got to see when things were running good. Are you still on board with this? Is this the right area? After we go through that observation Sunday, we come back for the 3rd week. And the 3rd week is really just, they're going to help out a little bit. I'd say about a third of the time, 30% of the time they're helping. The entire time they're paired up with a trainer. They're watching someone who is experienced at what they're doing, serving in ministry. They get to help a little bit, but they're doing a lot of watching. Then that 4th Sunday, we flip the script, and about 70% of the time, they're really hands-on with a trainer. For about 30% observing. There's going to be difficult moments or moments where they're not sure. They'll always have someone paired up with them. And then week 5, they're 100% serving while their trainer is watching them 100%. After those 5 weeks, our trainer will sit down with them. Hey, how do you feel? The trainer will then tell them how they feel. If they like it, if they feel really good about it, hey, let's get you on the schedule. We're going to start scheduling on a regular basis. If they maybe need another week, or maybe they say, hey, you know what, I really like doing this, but maybe it's in a different area. All right, absolutely. Let's move you. And we've got different tech responsibilities. So we have our elementary side, we have some preschool side, even some nursery stuff. So there's different venues for people to serve.
Yeah, man, I love the intentionality of that. How do you build those trainers? Are they people that are specific? Their gift is to train on top of doing what they're doing, or is it like everybody kind of grows into that position?
So I would love for everyone to grow into that position. I'd say it's two-sided. Number one, for me, we want an adult, especially when it's training children. I like an adult to be up there to lead, but
Yeah.
in the reality, that's not always possible. Like I've got a young man right now who's in 5th grade, and he is a professional at running audio, about running visuals, about running lights. And so anytime I have a new child, he's a great way to get that child connected. I can have an adult up there to make sure it's running smoothly, but this little man he's getting everyone connected. I think it takes a special person. Not only do you have to be competent at what you're doing, not everyone can be competent and to be like a coach. This is a different position to where you got to encourage people. You got to give people permission to fail. And so that takes like a special person. For me, I've sat down with all these people one-on-one and I've trained them personally. So when I have other people that, I'm entrusting to this individual to train, I have confidence that they know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. What kind of retention rate do you have of people who start in that first week and make it all the way through the 5th week?
Yeah, so what we've really asked on the front side, and for us, just with the severity of serving in kids ministry and how serious it is, we do a background check on every single person 18 and over. Yeah. I kind of really from the jump say, hey, listen, because we're paying for your background check, because we're going to give you a Surge Kids t-shirt, we'd like you to commit for all 5 weeks. And I have very few people that don't stick. I'd say it's like 95%. I do get some people that say, hey, you know what? I did sign up for preschool tech, but I really want to help in elementary tech. Like I'm a little bit more competent and what the needs are here, I think I would get bored. Or, hey, you know what? I signed up to kind of do some stuff in the nursery. I think I'd really want to come to a different role. I see that a little bit more, some moving around just in age groups, but I don't see a whole lot of people that don't want to serve in kids ministry.
Wow. And I love that this conversation is about a tech team, but really can be used in any area of volunteer for any kids ministry leader or kids pastor. And I think, that is your gift, in my opinion, one of your gifts. Obviously you're a multi-gifted individual, but I love the way you lead, the way that you lead teams. Do you have any, like, maybe not quite horror stories, but do you have any moments in ministry where there are some issues in tech that were memorable?
Yeah. Some memorable stuff. So I got a couple, small stuff. Everyone's had the moment, or at least I assume everyone's had it. People, you're not checking your computer and the little kid will see that thing in the top corner. It's like, do you want to update the software? The yes. I've had more than I should have. I've had 3 or 4 of those just like mid-service. The computer is updating. We've lost visuals. We've lost music. It'll be 45 minutes to an hour with the kids' church internet. I've had those just, oh my goodness. And I've heard it this way. T.D. Jakes used to say it, listen, if you need PowerPoint to make a point, you lack both power and a point. And so it always gets to me, like, how well do I know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Anytime the confidence monitor goes out, do I really know the sermon well enough to say if the graphics aren't there, or if I can't see the graphics, I'm going to be able to just communicate this from my heart? Oh, but man, I've had those happen. Yeah.
And when those things happen, how do you pivot? Do you have to just kind of freestyle it, or do you have anything in place to kind of pivot to?
Yeah. So, okay. Absolutely. Dick Gruber, he was like the master of this. Dick Gruber would always say, this is where you have your backpack, and in your backpack, you just have your go-to things. His big thing, I can remember, he had a son that did yo-yo tricks. For a long time, I would carry a yo-yo, and I'd just be able to go into my yo-yo tricks and like, hey guys, we're having some tech issues, and I'm out doing some gospel yo-yo stuff that I learned from Dick Gruber. So for a long time, that was my go-to. It's easy now to like, hey guys, depending on where it's at. I can remember one time we're like in worship. For us, we use, again, our computer kind of runs everything. We use videos for worship, and the kids were just worshiping, and it was like, oh my goodness, hey guys, we had some computer issues. We can worship Jesus without the computers. Let's just a cappella it. And we would just sing, and I'm looking over at the person, just keep going, I'm trying to communicate with my eyes to the sound booth to see where we're at. I've had moments where we've lost power. our family
yeah.
life center building, it has you went to, you grew up in that church. They pretty
Yeah.
much built it themselves. And so the way it's sort of explained to me was they mixed up the water lines and the power lines. So I guess in modern buildings, the power lines are on like the door frames on top and the water lines are on the bottom, where for whatever reason in our building it's flipped. So anytime we have leaks in our pipes, it'll drip down onto our power and our power will just go off. So we'll lose all the lights. And then it's just the scary moment where we're in a just completely black room, no lights, no visuals, very few safety lights that go on. And we're just like, okay. And we're just praying for the backup generator to turn on. I kind of have to, everything's okay. Let's just take a moment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good times.
Good times.
Good times in that building. Do you have any like general do's and don'ts for utilizing Kids Church Tech Team?
Yeah, I would say for bullet points for technology, it always has to enhance the service. So anything we do, we're not going to do it just to do it. We're going to do it to enhance the service. So as an example, something I learned from you is like, hey guys, if I don't have someone who can play piano, at the end of my message, I want you to turn on this Spotify playlist that is just like piano worship, and like we're going to turn it up slowly. I don't need it just blasting, but we're going to have these things that just enhance the service. This is just a moment where we want kids to worship. If we go into a time of some a cappella praise, the piano is just going to be able to move their hearts. It's going to be able to get the kids. Anytime we're going to have lights, I don't want to just have cool lights or haze going on. I'm going to have things that are useful, things that elevate the service. I want to make sure that, hey, I know that we can do every color of lights under the rainbow. Could I have lights that match the graphics? Could it go every segment? So if I have a restroom countdown where it's like a giant red buzzer that's being pressed, I want all the kids to line up to go to the restroom. Hey, the lights during that time, could they be red? Could they be orange? Let's utilize things. Could I have the spotlight pointed where the kids are going to line up for the restroom? Make sure everything we do in those moments are enhancing the service. If I have someone that's on someone who's on the audio on the soundboard, hey, I don't want you messing with my microphone the entire time. If I'm not loud enough, you can turn me up. If I'm too loud, you're going to turn me down, but we're there to enhance the service, not to become like, look how cool the tech team is.
Give me some final thoughts, as we wrap this conversation up. If you're speaking to a kids ministry leader who's either new to the game or they don't have a lot of resources, how would you tell them to kind of go about putting together this Kids Church Tech Team, how to use visuals and technology effectively?
Absolutely. So something that we do is we have every portion of our service. Kids need two things. They need mystery and mastery. And so for me, the mastery is we have a similar order of service every single week. The mystery is what in that segment is going to happen. When the lights go black at the end of a segment and the lights go on, I've got intro music or whatever, that's the mystery part. I mean, anything can happen in our services. You could have a pirate come out. You could have a monster from Sesame Street. We could have incredible worship, whatever would happen. Really try and get this. And I almost think of it like a TV show. Reggie Joyner does this the best with his kids' curriculum. And I've always tried to just take elements from that and bring it to my kids' services. Imagine you were having a kids' church TV show and you wanted kids for an hour and a half to pay attention from start to finish. The audio, the visual, the lights, you want to never lose their attention. Anytime something like a kid sees the microphone being passed or the video doesn't start on time or the lights are wrong or something isn't loud enough, you lose attention. Make sure that everything you do is keeping the children focused on what is happening. If we can elevate what is happening on the stage through technology, oh my goodness, the people speaking, the word of God is going to go forth and lives are going to be changed because we have a smooth service and it all started from our tech team.
Last thing, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to see kind of what you're doing, how can they find you?
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram, at Cleese2.
Cool. Eric, thank you so much for talking with us and for hanging out. And man, I'm excited for what God is doing in Fort Lauderdale through your kids ministry.
Sheik, I appreciate it, man. I love you so much, bro. It's good seeing you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Kids Church Visual Show with Sheik Mozart. I want you to know that your Kids Church visuals matter. If you look at two different mixed up Rubik's Cubes, it might be hard to tell them apart. But did you know that there are over 43 quintillion different Rubik's Cube combinations? That's 43 with 18 zeros. Each one a different layout of colors with a unique path to restoration. The kids that step into your kids' church might all look pretty similar, but each one is made up of countless different stories and experiences, and each one with a unique way of learning and connecting to God. Our goal here at Church Visuals is to give you, the ministry leader, the visual tools that you need to help you connect with each and every child and to help them find their way to their Creator. This has been a podcast presentation of Church Visuals. Executive produced by Carl Barnhill. Hosted and edited by Sheik Mozart. Title and show graphics by Jason Merrick. For more training to help you visually communicate the gospel in your children's ministry, visit churchvisuals.com.